So the reason for doing this job and looking at it is because I've got this socket here and it's kind of like at the level of the bed, which is a bit annoying because it's catching on the bed, you know what I mean, and with the child sleeping in the bed, it's a bit dodgy where it is there really. So what I normally do would cover it up with a blanket, that type of thing, get it out the way, but I've got plenty of space down there. So I really want to see about lowering it, if possible. Now some of the electrics in this house are very dodgy, to say the least, by the previous owner. So I want to check everything out and see how it looks first. The first thing I'm going to do is just check the socket. And that's just showing, I don't know if you can see that, the right hand green light, no earth. Try it in the other socket, same thing. Okay, which doesn't surprise me with the electrics in this house. The previous owners, I don't know what they've done. Bit of bodge jobs, but yeah, let's have a look at this. Always do this with the electric switched off, and don't do it if you're not comfortable or don't know what you're doing. That's the screws out. I can't actually believe what I'm seeing in there. Let me just pick the camera up. Can you actually believe that? There is people who've probably seen worse. So we've got the earth, CPC, whatever you want to call it, connected to the plastic mount box, but not to the socket. So basically this socket is not earthed at all. So if there was a problem, this socket is not earthed at all. There's actually a bit of copper showing there. It's not brilliant, but I've seen worse, like having the earth CPC just connected to the plastic socket and nowhere else. It's actually unbelievable. Probably not so in this house, given what I've seen in previous electrics in here. I've not seen this before, so this is new. So I've seen some dodgy wiring and things like that, but yeah, there you go. I mean, so that's a problem I've got to rectify. Luckily quite an easy problem, because the earth is there and it should be connected to the actual, you know, plug socket itself and not to the plastic box. Now if this was a metal box, you would expect that type of connection, yes, connected to the metal box, and then a loop wire going from there into the actual socket, you know, into this, the actual fascia of the socket. So the socket's earthed and the back box is earthed, but you don't need to earth a plastic back box. Yes. Okay, so looking at this, I have got a bit of space below, and I did want to kind of move it down a bit if I could, or even possibly move it round this corner here, because I am going to be taking the floorboards up at various points, so I could do that. I want to see what the space is like behind here first off, so I probably need to take, the plan is to take the actual socket fascia off. There's obviously a hole going through where the cables are coming through. Depends whether they're coming from the top or the bottom, I don't know. Hopefully they come from the bottom and go up, because this is the upstairs bedroom. So I'm hoping that's how the cables go. You know, they're coming up the wall here and into that, which means I could drop it right down to a reasonable level down here, you know, so that it doesn't keep catching on the bed, which would make it a lot better. So let's jump in and see what we can do. So the electric is now off. We've got no lights on. As a precautionary test, you can always just check it with a test meter. So I've got my voltage tester here, and I'm just going to just test it as well. Like I say, because never trust anything or anybody. Do your own testing. So that goes on the black and that goes on the red, and we've got 0 volts. So that's definitely 100% off. Yeah, we've got 0 volts there, so I'm happy with that. I can safely start to disconnect things. That wasn't overly tight. And what I'm going to do, just to keep these covered but out the way, is just pop them in a couple of these Wago connectors. They'll go in, stay in. That's it. There's not a lot of room here to play with the cable, so it's tight. Just keeps everything nice and neat while I'm just doing this job. And like I say, we've got the crazy earth there. Where they've actually, yeah, it's, the mind boggles what some people do. Okay, so let's have a look at getting this off. Just get the screws out. This is not going to come off very easy because it, you know, I'm just going to cut round the outside with a knife a bit. So like I say, it has been painted around. There we go. Oh dear. Yeah, so I hope you can laugh along with me on this. Have a laugh with me, why not? I mean, look at that. So we've got a right mess there. We've got a normal back box sitting in a hole, and then they've basically decided to fit that over the top to obviously make it a double. On the plus side, the cable comes in for the bottom. No grommet. So at the most I'd have to fill in that hole there, and I can actually lower it, which is good. It's obviously just this back box is obviously just held in by plaster and nothing else really, because you know there's nothing, there's no fittings in it. So which is what they sometimes did with these back boxes. They just kind of held them in with just the plaster around them. So you can see as I'm wiggling it, it'll probably take a bit to get that out, but like I said, there's no grommet or anything in there. It's terrible installation, and we only seem to we've just got I don't even know where that earth wire is coming from, because it's coming on its own from down below. It is a mystery. Yeah, so there's definitely no, need to get that out. So we have got, at least we have got an earth in here. So I need to see how easy it's going to be to get this back box out.
A few moments later.
So I'm just going to speed this clip up for a second because it's only a short clip, and I'm basically just trying to make a bit of a gap around where the cables are coming up from the bottom there. They're tight in the plaster, so I'm just knocking a bit of the plaster out from around the two cables. There's two cables coming up, and that other earth cable as well, which I'm not entirely 100% sure where it goes, but it's going in the earth. But yeah, just tidying up because the cables are not budging at the moment. They're a bit tight in the plaster, so being very careful and just knocking a few bits of plaster out from around those cables so they can freely move around. Being very careful not, of course, not to damage the cable, so I'm doing it slow but speeded the video up.
Still don't know what that random earth wire is now. On the plus side, the cable is coming from the bottom there. The cable is coming down, so yes, it's I can do that. let's just try and take these raw plugs out if I can. I'm not particularly wanting to come out. That one might be. That one's come out. That one's gone in, so we won't worry too much about that one. So yeah, just to show you close up now we've got that off. I can actually smooth all this down and fill it in once I've done, but like I say, I just do want to lower it down. So because it's a plasterboard wall, I'm going to be using one of these type boxes, which will fit the depth, but obviously considerably lower down and out of the way. As you can see, that rough outline drawn there where I need to cut to get this back box out. Yeah, good sharp knife to start this off. Now, so the knife, I mean, we've got a good, square cut. So I am just going to speed this bit of the clip up again here, and what I'm actually doing here on screen at the moment is just cutting out where I've marked. So I've marked the shape of the electrical back box, the plastic back box that I'm going to be installing. So I've drawn around it, you've seen me draw around it, and now I'm just actually cutting out the plasterboard that's not needed. If you've got a plasterboard knife, plasterboard saw, it's probably quick and easy to do it. The reason I didn't do it with a plasterboard knife is because the cable is under there somewhere. As you can see on screen, the cable is there. So I wanted to do it with a chisel, but do it very gently, because I knew the cable was somewhere, but I didn't know exactly where. And if you start cutting through with a plasterboard knife or a plasterboard saw, you're going to catch the cable. So now I've got the perfect cut out there, perfect square, almost perfect hopefully, for my back box. And I'm just freeing the cables up at the moment here, just so that they can slide down. I did this bit earlier on the video, but they're just not
got enough wiggle room, if you want to call it that. Being very careful. I'm actually doing this really slow and carefully. I've just really speeded the video up to show you that how to do it, because I needed to pull the cables down to get ready to feed it into the new plastic back box.
Oh, there we go.
So another clip here that I'm going to speed up slightly for you very quickly again. The back box is installed in the plasterboard, fits perfect now. Needed to do a little bit of adjustment to get it in, but it was pretty much lined up and straight. So what I'm doing now with the two wires that are coming in is just stripping them back a little bit more to start with, because I have got plenty of slack on this cable now, because obviously I've lowered it down, so I don't necessarily need as much cable, and I can have as much slack as I need on it. So I'm just stripping the grey coating off it and making myself more slack on the red and black. So I've got more of the red, the live and the neutral, the live being the red, the neutral being the black. Just tidying them up and getting them ready to put the socket on. You've got to make them, don't give yourself too much cable in there, because there isn't a lot of room in that back box once the socket's sat in there. So you've got to kind of like work out how much cable you actually need, and hopefully a little bit of it you can push back into the wall if needed as well. So I've done the live and neutral first, and I've left the earth cables till last. So I'm just trying to align the socket at the moment, which can be a bit tricky, trying to work out and get the socket lined up perfectly and the cables in. Make sure if you're putting two cables in like me there, both of them are in tight and the screw is done really, really tight, and there's no copper showing. There should be no copper showing. It should be, you know, clean into the little holes where the cables go. So it's a bit tight and a bit tricky on this, because I'm trying to get two cables in. So a couple of attempts to just get it in perfect. Doesn't matter which side you do, you can do live first or neutral first, whichever is easiest for you. Just getting them in now and tightening them up. And then the last thing I've got to do once I've put the live and neutral in is, of course, those earth wires, and make sure they are connected to the socket so everything is correctly earthed. And that other earth wire that goes, I'm not 100% sure yet where that goes, but I'm going to connect that to the earth anyway and then investigate that at a later date.
That's done. Now just got to do something and fill that hole in. Got a hole going down there. You can use a bit of cardboard hopefully too. To block the hole.
A few moments later.
So we've got the two lights on there which indicate correct. Correct. And now I've got to fill that hole in.
So another set of clips that I'm now going to play and speed up for you. Obviously now I've got to fill this hole in where this old back box was. So I'm just using normal plaster, which is mixed with water in just a little tub. Got it in an old ice cream tub, just mixed with a bit of water. And I'm going to fill that hole in. So yeah, I've sped this up because otherwise you'd be sitting, 15 minutes or so watching me just fill plaster in, which is pretty boring, but when it's sped up, you kind of see the process a lot quicker, and it all kind of makes sense then that how I'm filling the hole in. Everybody's got their own way of doing this. Some people are going to say it's not 100% the best way, but this is the way I've done it. Now, one thing to note as well, after I filled this hole in, because it's actually quite thick plaster, that is, I've got sort of like an inch of plaster in some places there, a couple of centimetres thick of plaster. This plaster actually took about 2 days to dry, so you can't sand it or paint it for 2 days. So yeah, you've got to bear that in mind. I had to kind of leave it to dry for about 2 days once I'd done this. Did take a bit of time to do. I also seem to have lost some of the video clips that I did of painting it after and sanding it. I'm not sure what I did with them. I thought I copied them off to my PC, but they're not there. But who wants to see me just painting over something and sanding it? But this is probably the more interesting bit, is fillery. It's, as you can see, it's starting to take shape now. And it's starting to look like a smooth bit. It's just sandpaper then over the top of this in a couple of days to sand it down, and then you can paint over it. You might need to mix a little bit more if you've got any more gaps to fill in after, but luckily for me I didn't. It was just a matter of sanding it and then painting it, and then you can get ready to see the finished item. So we've just got to wait 2 days now for that to dry and paint it, and then that's what the gap above it looks like. You can't actually see it, so when I'm looking at it with the camera there at a certain angle, you can't actually see that I've actually done any filler work. But that's the finished job. I've painted over it, sanded it down, and just painted it. 2 coats of the pink paint there over the top of where I've sanded. You can just see a few slight marks there on the wall, nothing major, because I have sanded it quite flat, so it looks quite good. I'm quite happy with the outcome now. The socket is lower, you know, it's underneath the bed. The bed's not catching on it anymore, so everything is good. So thanks for watching this video, everyone. I hope you've learned something from this video. Any questions, please ask in the comments below.